Welcome! A few weeks ago I found this piece of wood in the forest and thought I could make some small wooden knives of it. So let's get into it. I cut off everything useless and roughly scraped off the bark with a small knife. With the table saw and a jig I'm using for cutting boxes, I rough cutted the length. Unfortunately, I didn't have an bandsaw at that time, so I took my table saw again and tried to cut some straight edges. That worked out better than I thought. After I had a few straight edges, I was able to cut the branch into small flat slices. At first I wasn't sure if the wood was even useful for anything, but after cutting it to size, I was sure it would be worth it. Now it was time for rough drawing the blades I wanted. It was quite difficult due to many defects in the wood and also big cracks. For the rough cutout, I clamped the wood to my workbench, used my Japanese saw and cut everything straight out. Now it was time for the thickness. As you will later see, I definitely didn't take off enough the first try. I marked the center of the wood to have a reference and also marked other aspects I later need. For the handles, I took a look at my scrapbook box and was lucky enough to find some really good looking pieces for the handles. For rough cutting the size, I used my Japanese saw again. I cut the knives and the handles to size, and now it was time for gluing. I used simple wood glue for that. With some tape and clamps, I fixed everything. As I had a lot of overhangs, I used my table saw again and also rough cutted the handles and everything else again. Knowing that I had to sand quite a bit, I clamped the belt sander on the work table. I used 40 grit sandpaper, but it took me a really long time to finish the rough structure of the knives. Next time I probably will cut way more off on the table saw. I think for rough cutting the results are pretty good. So afterwards I continued with the orbital sander and made everything super smooth. Because I still had a few scratches on the surface, because of the many edges and corners, I gave the knife a little final touch by hand. To finish everything up, I used linseed oil. It was time for the first test. I had a lemon cake there, which was very grumbly, so a perfect test object. The first two cuts with the first knife were actually quite good, and I had a perfect piece. Unfortunately, this second knife was way too thick and it had not been cutting but rather squeezing the cake, so it was time to get back to the workshop. Back in the workshop, I took my belt sander again and rough sanded everything. Changed to the orbital sander and made everything super smooth. As you can see here, the thickness is way better than before. For finish, I used linseed oil again. As I was really happy with the thickness this time, I finished up everything with beeswax. And here they are. I think the results are looking pretty good and I'm really happy with them. If you would like to win one of these knives, subscribe to my channel until Sunday the 5th of June. Among all subscribers, I will draw out the winner and send it anywhere in the world for free. It was time for a second test. Unfortunately, I only had left a little piece of cake, but the cutting experience was way better than before, and I'm really glad I sanded them again. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you want to enter the giveaway. The winner will be posted on Instagram. Until then, I hope I see you in the next project. Thanks for watching.